Welcome back. So in our last video, we got our repository set up and we installed all our dependencies, as well as we got the Alephium stack running through Docker. Now we're going to be taking a look at the contract setup currently as it is that we get, as well as building a new contract on Alephium in the Ralph programming language. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the Alephium Ralph config settings, which aren't mentioned here, but to fetch them for you real quick. Alright, so these are the compiler settings right here that you are going to see. I'll be posting all my code to GitHub as well, so you guys can look at this branch, and I believe this one's called writing contracts. That's what I'll probably write this episode as. And you can check out my videos branch by branch for the changes that I've actually made on this GitHub repository. So right here we have our deployment script directory, which is scripts, which is right here. And we have our compiler options, which there's quite a few of them that we can use. For now I have error on warnings on false, which means even if I have a warning, it'll still compile. And I have ignore unused constants warning as false too. So this basically means that I'm not going to be ignoring unused constants. So that's why I have it set like this. As you can see though, the developer settings are all the same. Alright, now that we're in the contracts folder and we're going to start writing our Ralph contracts, I made a folder called test. In this folder called test, we're just going to make a file called calculator.ral. So with any Alephium contract, we have different options that we can have. In this case, I'm going to say abstract contract admin calc like this. However, you can notice that there's no syntax highlighting. So how do I get syntax highlighting? I head over to the VS Code extensions, I type in Ralph, and I look for Ralph LSP, and I click install. And now it's installed. And I can also install the Ralph VS Code as well here. And now that you can see, I have syntax highlighting and I have actual syntax errors popping up, basically telling me what the current problem is, in which case it says I'm missing brackets right now. I'm going to give my contract a variable. And now that I've put brackets, the contract likes what I have put. I'm going to say mutable admin because I want the admin to be able to change. And then I'm going to write a function called editAdmin with no return type as specified here. But courtesy of the Alephium security, we have to specify what permissions this function has. So one of those being that I need to check external caller and set that equal to true. As well as the fact I'm going to be updating fields, I need to say update fields is equal to true as well. And now that I've given the permissions that the contract needs, I'm going to use a function called checkCaller, which is a built-in Alephium function. And there's a whole list of built-in Alephium functions that I'll leave in the description. I'm going to write some error codes. So we'll just say they're called calc codes. I'm going to say not admin is equal to 0. And then I'm going to get the caller address, which we can see here that we're actually getting some pop-ups courtesy of the Ralph LSP. So we're going to say that, and we want that to be equal to admin. And then if it's not equal to admin, then calccodes.notAdmin. However, if it is, then we want to change the value. So we'll put a new value in the parameters and we'll call it new admin and give it the address value type. And then admin will be equal to new admin. And bam. Now we have our first function within our first abstract contract. So now I'm going to make a new file, and I'm going to call it main_calc.ral. We're actually going to rename this calculator. We're going to name it calc_tools. And then we'll rename this one calculator, because that makes a little bit more sense to me. So now we're writing the main contract, but we're going to inherit off the previous contract we just made. So we'll call this one calculator. And we'll give it the same fields because it's going to be inheriting off of them. So let me add admin address. Then here is where things get a little bit interesting. We're going to say extends our admin calc. And then we're going to put in here the values that it's extending. And then we can add our parentheses. All right, now that we have our calculator contract, we can write a function, and we'll give our main contract an extra value called calculation. And we'll give it a value of U256. Oh, and that's supposed to be a comma. We've made it a immutable value, but in this case I want it to be mutable as well. We'll do a public function called add10, and we'll give it no return type, but we will give it access to update fields. So we need to give it those permissions real quick. And then we want to say calculation equals calculation plus 10. And we want to say that check external caller is equal to false, meaning anybody can call it, and we're not checking for a specific caller. We're going to do an npm run compile on that. As you see, it says we're missing the stack tools. It says we're missing a .env, so we'll do that real quick. All right, and now we'll run npm compile. And we got our first error. We can say that add10.calculation does not exist or is used before declaration. So we can see that calculations here, spelled the same way here. Oh, we spelled calculation wrong. Well, that would do it, right? Calculation. Cool. All right, so we'll run npm compile. And we can see that our compilation has completed. We've generated the code for contract calculator while inheriting the functions from our abstract contract admin calc. So now that we've compiled, we also have generated artifacts. We can look in here and see that we have a calculator.ts artifact, as well as different contracts here, index, scripts, and we actually have a folder dedicated to the test folder that we have in our contracts folder, showing basically our compiled contract here as JSON. So the version, the name, the bytecode, the code hash, as well as any functions or values that are within the contract that we have set. Alright, this was Programming in Ralph, and I'll see you guys in the next video where we test our contracts.